Previously on.
Previously.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on.
Previously on the recap sequence.
Hey folks, welcome to the recap sequence. We are back. It's been
a couple weeks.
A couple weeks.
Yes.
Yeah, but good to be back in the studio. Got a great show tonight. We have our cartoonist, writer, and freelance illustrator Jason Loo with us. Welcome to the show. It's so good to see you. Finally, we had this originally scheduled back in September, so glad to finally get to circle back and have this chat with you.
Yeah, but it's finally happening. Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, happy to.
It was funny because I met Jason, excuse me, at East Coast Comic Expo because I got a text from a friend of mine and said, "Hey, are you in Moncton right now?" And I was like, "Yes." He goes, "You need to go down and tell Jason that I said hello." So of course I went down, but I just missed him. You had just left your table for a minute, so here I am standing around looking at your stuff, and came back, and I believe it was Jeremy Dixon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who said? So I was like, "Yeah, we have a mutual acquaintance apparently," and that's how we kicked things off.
That's awesome. It's a small world, actually, or it's a small town because I know he's from Moncton, and he's a friend of mine for almost 2 decades, and yeah, I just didn't know how small Moncton could be.
In New Brunswick standards, Moncton is huge. By the way, it's like the hub city for the entire province. So probably much smaller than Toronto, but yeah, for us, it's the metropolis.
And we had talked about trying to get you on the show and everything. You had a very busy summer, work-wise, and then October you were just slammed from start to finish there, including, I believe, a trip to New York Comic Con. How was that?
Oh, it's just going with the motions, man. It's so I'm always juggling like 5 different projects, which I'm so grateful for with Marvel, and you know, like having a break, like going to New York Comic Con, a break from work just to talk about comics with editors and friends. I mean, that's a nice treat to kind of like celebrate the works that I've done. It's funny, when I was at New York Comic Con, for most of the time I was masked up because last year I caught COVID, so I didn't want that to happen again. I went with my shots like beforehand, and so I was kind of like incognito, just wandering around the floor. And then by Sunday, like me and an editor, we were just walking along the show floor, and like he didn't wear his mask, and it was like, you know what, I this is Sunday. I've survived most of the weekend. I'm just gonna take off my mask. And we're just going comic hunting, and then that's when like fans started to recognize me. Wait, hey, aren't you Jason Loo? And like, can we get a photo? I was like, sure.
Incognito mode removed there. Yeah.
Put my mask back on so I can just do my own thing. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And New York, I mean, I've been to New York, but I have not been to a New York Comic Con. That's a whole other beast compared to, say, ECCE in Moncton.
Oh, for sure. It's where all the publishers are at, all the editors. Yeah, like that's I go there. It's a business trip for me, so I go there just to meet with work associates and just talk about the future, talk about future projects, or just strengthening our relationships. That's what it's all about. And yeah, because like it's a hotbed of all the best talent going there, and that's where I just want to make like these connections with all the collaborators, like Werewolf by Night's cover artist EM Jest, and who else did I get to meet over there? Oh yeah, like Luigi Zagaria, who's my artist from the Century. Yeah, just catching up with them.
I suppose because you really don't get. You guys are all sort of all over the place. You're in Ontario right now, or is it everyone else that you're working with down in the States, or?
No, it's all over the world. Yeah, so I'm from Toronto, but you know, I've artists that that live in Italy or Brazil, like Sergio De Villa. He's the artist for Werewolf by Night. He is from he's from Italy. We have Rafael Loureiro, who's the artist for Dazzler. He's from Brazil. And who else? Yeah, it's all over the place, man.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
and also Adam Gorham.
Oh, yeah, we know Adam.
Met Adam. Yeah.
Who lives at the the furthest side of the greater Toronto area in Mississauga.
It's still far.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd mentioned Dazzler and Sentry, a couple Marvel titles that you're currently working on, or are you done working on them?
The Sentry I'm done working on. That was wrapped up like last spring. But yeah, I'm deep in with Werewolf by Night and Dazzler at the moment, and planning some other things.
Well, we'd love to hear. Yeah. Do you have anything you can tell us about, or?
I mean, well, I did kill Danny Rand last summer, and I think there are some plans of revisiting him.
Cool. Right on.
I gotta ask you your experience with so I've got the first issue here of Werewolf by Night because I get the Marvel Red Band one obviously because I did that with the last big Marvel event for the summer. Does that change your style when they're saying we're giving you a Red Band and you're also doing Dazzler, which is not Red Band?
Oh yeah, no, I love pushing myself to the limit of trying to cater to different audiences, or like just playing around with different genres in a way, and being and just honoring the different lores, the respective lores of both titles. It's funny because I was a big Dazzler fan like for over a decade, and Werewolf by Night was kind of what was the character that was kind of in my radar, but like I didn't think I would get a chance to write him. But then when I got the opportunity, and like Devin Lewis, the editor, when he approached me about that project, that was when I had COVID after New York Comic Con, and I was watching lots of horror films because it was October, and I was like, you know what, I'm in the right like headspace for this. Yeah, like, and you want this Red Band, like, yeah, I'm gonna push to the limit. Like, I'm gonna like just go deep in the dark recesses of my brain and try to think of all the sinister ideas I've had, and put them in comic book form.
Well, can I say that it sounds like you are having an absolute blast then with Werewolf by Night?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and like a character like Jack Russell is someone who in his human form. I mean, he knows he's been cursed since his birth, and at the start of my series, he's just trying to get his life back together, and he kind of got it back together as like working as a ferry captain in a small town, and then the Blood Hunt event just
screwed that up.
Screws that up actually, and when he was able to control his wolf self, like that's no longer the case, and so he wakes up like finding out that he's accidentally murdered his neighbors, and he could have been murdering a bunch of other people while the full moon was out. And so he's a person that's trying his best at redemption, trying to undo these mistakes, but also not make further mistakes at the same time.
I'm just curious, Jason, how did you get your start? Because you are a writer, as Jamie said, and an artist. When you decided to get into this, was it one or the other, or did you I'm going in feet first for both?
It was both. I was making comics ever since I was in high school. Like I used to like make mini comics, like write, draw them. and then sell them at my friends' punk shows, school cafeterias, and then I would continue doing that when I went to Sheridan College for illustration, and I just try to up my game with what I learned in the program, and yeah, like I've always been just a storyteller. I, that's I looked at comics as just another way of telling a story, and I'm very particular with my own vision, especially if even now when I have to like when I'm working with a collaborative team, where like we have to like be collaborative and share each other's ideas to tell a very cohesive story. But when I was doing self publishing, um, that's where I was, yeah, like I was a control freak. And sometimes part of that, like, to my own fault, like spills into, working with teams at times. Cause sometimes like, I can be very particular about like, like just certain nuances or little small details that's going to pay off for like later on in the story. Like I want to be like sure that we nail some of these particulars right. So yeah.
So is it harder for you sometimes to, like, for instance, to pull back the artist side of you and let the artists that you're working with go at it? Because I mean, in your head, I'm sure you have a vision of how you see it, and obviously you've put pen to paper at this point.
Oh, absolutely. And there were times where like I have to like just kind of sit back and say, Jason, just let the artist cook. Like, like there was a time where I was working on Iron Fist with comic uh luminary Will Spataccio, and I was choreographing, like visually choreographing, storyboarding the fight scene of Danny's last moments, and as a guide for Will. So then like Will's like saw that and he's like, this does not make sense to me. I'm just gonna do it myself. It's like, sure, like
Oh,
I just
wow.
use as a guide, but yeah, do your thing. I mean, why should I question you? Like, no, just do your
Right.
thing.
And no internal ouch for that. Like, just let her go. Like, do you find like that's you have to be able to do that, right? Like, that's
Yeah, and just trust,
yeah,
just trust the process, and it will come through at the very end.
yeah,
And when you see when the inks are laid, and then the colors and the letters, and you have the editors there as well to to also help steer the ship, to make sure it becomes uh an impressive finished product. And yeah, at the very end, when I look at the comic once it's printed, it's like, you know what, like all that back and forth, or like just the entire process, it was worth it.
right, yeah. How much like throughout a process like that? How much editorial involvement is there throughout the path of it? Is it something that's like, do you have sort of check-ins incrementally as you go, or is it something that you get sort of a certain length of the project in, and then you sort of submit it and hope, okay, well maybe there won't be too many big changes that we have to make. How often is that check-in with the editorial team?
It can vary issue to issue. But the thing is, it's like, me and my editors, like we have our like our daily chats, or just communicate like on a daily basis. And the thing is, it could be like on different stages of uh different issues. So like one issue would be probably easy to work with compared to another issue. So I mean, it's a big juggling act, really. I mean, it's hard to say. It's um but like all in all, it's a positive experience.
Right,
I'm
But
very
we're all just
curious.
having fun, just making comics, really.
right,
Well, and
yeah.
that
Hopefully,
exactly,
yeah.
right? That's why you got into the
Yeah.
industry for. I'm curious, so having you as the writer for Werewolf by Night and the writer of Dazzler and whatnot, how much time are you basically going, okay, I'm going to spend an hour now on Werewolf and then transition over to Dazzler, or is it like focus on one? Because you've got deadlines for both, obviously.
Oh yeah. I would like dedicate a day or two on a specific project. So like I'll be like, okay, like I mean today was I'm gonna dedicate like this morning to this one project, finish that up, or finish, you know, up to a certain checkpoint, and then I'm gonna shift to working on another project the entire afternoon. And that was my day today actually, and I do, I and then I just repeat that process the next day with uh, different designated projects. But in between that, like I'm also going through different emails with my editors on different issues. Where like I'll get an email on like a lettering pass for one issue that I finished writing like 2 months ago.
Okay.
And while like I'm getting it like another email on an issue that's going to come out in 5 months in advance. So like it's a lot of jumping around from issues that have different uh release dates.
So do you find that that like is it a changing of gears? Is it that sort of a challenge, or is that something? Are you one that kind of thrives on that dynamic, challenging day to day?
um it's manageable. I mean every time like I get a like an email for like a lettering pass on like just say like issue number 6 for example. Like I do have to like go back to like the old draft or like looking back at the issues around it to see if it makes sense.
Right.
Just for continuity's sake. Yeah, it's a lot of flipping back and forth.
Right.
A lot of time jumping.
Sure. Yeah. Are there any parts of the process that you don't like more than others? Like, is there any particular phase, I guess, in a book that you dread? Like you talk to different people that are in different sort of types of vocation, I guess, that love their job. However, there's this one, I hate tech rehearsal, if you're on stage, or, sound checks, not my favorite thing if you're a musician. Is there any kind of like where the brakes kind of just get put on? You have to just put your head down and do something you just don't want to do.
Well, when it comes to when I'm looking at all the comic roles that I've done, because I've done writing, penciling, inking, coloring, lettering. One thing that I'm annoyed is filling in the colors of all the characters and like everything in the background, because that's very tedious.
Right.
And it's that's like not even the fun part. Like the fun part is rendering, like once you get all the colors flats. And like when I was working on Pitiful Human Lizard, one of my creator owned series, he like I think it was like after like after issue 5, I decided to hire a color flattener to help with assisting in that stage. So once I got the pages with the color flats, all I had to do is just pick out the right tones that I want and just render it right after that. That was fun. But if I had to narrow down like the most tedious or stressful part in writing alone, because that's what I'm doing predominantly these days. It's mainly I guess when you're working on outlines for a series, and you don't, I mean, not many people nail it on the first draft. um I think I got like a 50% chance of like a pretty good track record of that, but like the other 50% chance is like me writing a number of drafts until we get it right before we even start a series. Yeah, that can be a bit tedious, but you want to make sure you have all the groundwork laid
Yeah,
out for
sure.
like 5 to 10 issues. But yeah, like it's all about like throwing all these good ideas against the wall and seeing what sticks, and then working with what remains on that wall, and then adding more ideas.
Sure.
So-
And then things just get moving, and then then the fun can begin, right? You start getting that groundwork laid out, and then it's all glorious from that point on, hopefully.
Yeah, pretty much when everything looks like 90% chance, we're like, yeah, like that 10% chance, we can just iron it out when you flesh it out in the script.
Sure.
So Dazzler was a 4-issue series.
Uh-huh.
Werewolf by Night. How are you allowed to say how long that is? That a
We're
indefinite
seeing
run?
it's ongoing. Yeah,
Nice.
it's ongoing, and we got plans all up to next year, and I'm just gonna say we're gonna have some very big plans next year.
Sweet.
Especially starting with issue number 5, which comes out in December. Like, we have the Hulk guest starring, and I
Nice.
I think the solicits are out for issue number 6. We're bringing back Lilith.
Nice.
And yeah, things are gonna things are gonna hit the fan starting from there, and it's just gonna escalate throughout the entire year for Werewolf by Night.
I like the fact that the timing for this book to come out coincided nicely with Blood Hunt, but also the fact when Marvel released the horror show last year,
Yeah.
on Disney Plus, right? Like the timing for this has just been perfect for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, what a great way to what a great event to spin off Werewolf by Night. Yeah, shout out to Judd McKay and Blood Hunt, really. Like when Devin proposed the idea of a Werewolf by Night to me, and then he told me about the Blood Hunt event. It's like, what's going on with this? It's like, yeah, this is gonna be like this cool event that's gonna like start off like the dark corners of the Marvel universe. So Werewolf by Night is kind of like the prototype after that event of like having an ongoing Red Band series, and we have that, and we have Moon Knight in that dark corner, and Ghost Rider,
And
and
Blade.
Blade, and Daredevil, who's currently fighting demons. It's a fun corner of the universe that we're fleshing out, it's hopefully it's gonna exist for many years to come.
So you have all this work you're doing. Do you actually have time to read comics?
Oh geez, reading comics is also part of my job, mainly for research. Yeah, so I'm only reading the stuff that are like going to be coming out soon, or just back issue material for research. So when people ask me like what's the last book you've read for fun, I mean, like, yeah, reading comics is fun, but I'm primarily reading them for research, mainly for my work. That's what's all relates to. But it's just a coincidence that like I'm also a big X-Men fan, so I'm enjoying reading all these new X-Men comics that are yet to be released.
Yeah.
Like comics that won't be coming out until like 3 months later.
Hey, this is Jamie,
And this is Ryan.
and we're the Recap Sequence.
Be sure to tune in to us every Wednesday night on CHSR 97.9 FM or online at chsrfm.ca at 7 p.m. Atlantic, 6 p.m. Eastern.
And if you don't catch us live, you can catch our podcast on Spotify, on Amazon, anywhere you get your favorite podcasts. And we also have a YouTube channel you may have been watching, and if not, you should be. Catch us on YouTube at Recap Sequence.
And subscribe.
Subscribe, yeah, please.
So I want to switch gears here for a second because do you get to go out to a lot of do you try to do a lot of conventions in the run of a year with your schedule being as busy as it is?
I kind of did, but I think like I'm kind of slowing things down for next year. Like
Okay.
and like even like the remaining time of this year, like I'm only doing 2 conventions, and like one is you know, the city where Adam Gorham is from, Mississauga Comic Expo, the furthest part of Greater Toronto area. And then I'm going to India
Oh wow.
for Comic Con Delhi with Ryan North. Um,
Wow.
Wow.
so yeah, that's gonna be a great time. And yeah, amazing travel buddy to be with. But yeah, next year, I mean, previous years, I've normally like hit up like all the big Toronto shows, like Toronto Comic Con, Big Fan Expo
Yeah.
Canada,
Yeah.
and Toronto Comic Arts Festival. But next year, like I'm taking a break from Fan Expo and TCAF and Toronto Comic Con, like just kind of giving myself time for bigger cons that would invite me out to like you know, just different countries, so I can
Yeah.
just see different parts of the world while you know, doing a bit of work is at the same time. Yeah, that's kind of my plan right now going forward.
So my reasoning for asking this is, so if anybody's listening to this or watching this on YouTube or whatever, and they get a chance to meet you, I'm going to recommend this book right here, The All Nighter.
Yeah.
We project you and Chip Zdarsky worked on. This was a phenomenal book. I picked it up at ECCE. I read it the night I got home. It is such a kick-ass concept that you've created here. I want more. Are we going to get more?
Well, yeah, you know, volume 4. No, is it? No, volume 3 actually. Volume 3, the third and final volume, sadly, comes out early next year. It comes out early January.
Nice.
And so that collects issues 11 to 15, I believe. And
How did this come about with you and Chip, though? Like, it's such a different book. It's not something you're normally going to see. Vampires who become superheroes.
Yeah, funny story. So this was after me and Chip worked on Afterlift,
Right.
a standalone series we did with Comixology, and we won an Eisner Award for it. So we were like, you know, this dynamic is working well for us. And me and Chip, like we've known each other since I was in college, decades. So we were like, look, we got to do a follow up. So we sat down, had dinner together, and shot some ideas on our future project. And I came up with this idea of like, how if we focused on like this found family of vampires that seek refuge in this all night diner. Like they all work in this all night diner, and it's used as a safe place for monsters that are being hunted by humans. And so we went from that. And Chip being the writer, he took that idea, and the funny thing was, like, I you know, after a title like Afterlift, which was a story that had a very universal message, and did not deal with superheroes. It was like, let's continue this trend. Let's not deal with superheroes. Like let's let's work on something like offbeat, very like let's work on a dramatic series with some supernatural elements to it. And then he took that idea and he wrote a plot outline, and then here we go. He incorporated superheroes. Suddenly one of the vampires becomes a superhero, and then suddenly everyone else becomes a superhero or supervillain. And you know, he was working on Daredevil at the time, and me not working with Marvel yet, through that series made me fall in love with superheroes again. and I got sold by this idea, and I loved his idea of just the layers of identity with these characters. Like here's these monsters that are trying to blend in with human society, and you know, like they're working regular jobs, and then like you have that extra level of identity where like one decides to be a superhero, like come up with their own persona, and you have to figure out like what would their superhero brand be? What would each of their brands be? Depending on their personality, depending on their own history, because all these characters have their own backstory to dive into. So yeah, it was a lot of fun creating these characters with Chip.
And by the way, we would be remiss without saying, congratulations to you and Chip on
On the
winning
Eisner.
the Eisner
Yeah.
Award for Afterlift.
And your nominations, you had other awards you were nominated for as well.
Thank you. Yeah. I think we got some nominations for the All Nighter as well, like a Harvey and stuff. But yeah, I got to thank Chip for all of that. Like he's built a incredible presence in the comic community with his wonderful work on from Howard the Duck to Daredevil and Sex Criminals. So when he asked me to work with him, and this was like at the time when I finished when I wrapped up with Pitiful Human Lizard, and I was at the point where I was about to quit comics. Like I got my second win from him, and like knowing that I was going to work with someone like him, I was like, I got to step up my game. Knowing that there's going to be more eyes on this, so there might be lots like more eyes of scrutiny on the social media. So I got to like just improve my game, and he told me that I was going to be drawing lots of cars and Afterlift. So the first month I was just practicing drawing cars until I got better at it, natural at it, and yeah, just and I was able to draw cars like freehand without any
Wow.
rulers or like whatsoever. So yeah, he really helped push me to be a better comic creator, and with that Eisner Award, that's what kind of opened doors. And then we eventually got to work on Star Wars together for IDW
Oh wow.
in the Star Wars Adventures line, and then after that, like yeah, and then Marvel came
Right.
and wanted me to work for them.
That's really, I mean, that's an incredible history storyline to follow as you're going, from a guy who's ready to quit to one project, and that snowballs from there.
That was my pandemic, like from the very start to like to 2021, where we're like things were clicking into place. We're like, I'm getting to work with Star Wars and the Marvel sandbox, and yeah, because early start of the pandemic, like it was grim for everyone. It was kind of grim for me, and at the same time, that was like where I was like, I'm just gonna work on the All Nighter and see where this goes, even though the future feels uncertain, and we just steadied on, and then success like eventually came into place.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I can't hear a title called the Pitiful Human Lizard without asking a couple of questions about
Yeah.
it. So that was an earlier project, superhero based, and what can you tell us about it? Was it something you mentioned by the time you were finished of it, you were kind of done with superheroes? What was that experience like?
So this was uh yeah so the series is about a 9 to 5 office clerk who masquerades as a superhero in the city of Toronto. He's not that great at it, kind of like our hockey team. We're kind of pathetic, but he's got a lot of heart, just like our team. And he'll keep trying to be an inspirational role model for everyone, like a symbol of hope, even though he's like a working class superhero with no expensive gadgets like Batman or Iron Man. He rides to TTC, our transit system. Yeah, he's a very street level, very modest character, who has his own personal dramas. And yeah, this was a series that I wrote, drew, everything. and it was in it's set in Toronto, and I made Toronto a character in the book, just like how
Wow.
New York is a character in the Marvel books.
Yeah.
So it was in that same Marvel flair. Keeping it like of how like Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby, like that, using that kind of energy uh in my series. So, people would look at a silly title like The Pitiful Human Lizard, be intrigued by it, and then they would read it and be like, wow, this book has a lot of heart. Like they can really feel for the protagonist and his supporting cast of characters, are who are just people that are trying to get by in a city that is, even now, being gentrified, and like all of our beloved landmarks are being destroyed by you know um just billionaires that don't have the best interest of the actual citizens that live in downtown Toronto. um yeah, like my like one of the masterminds of this city is inspired by these I guess, yeah, the rich elites that are really turning Toronto, like our beloved city of Toronto, into just a very gentrified, very just a city with no character, really. Um, man, I lost my train of thought. I know I was going somewhere with this, but
I mean, it's been a great pitch so far, and I know it was one that maybe by the time you got to the end, it was maybe an exhausting experience. But I can tell it's just the way you're describing it. It sounds like it was a very close and personal book,
Very
and plus
passionate.
having covered all the artistic aspects from writing to colors. It was I assume it was something. It was kind of a labor of love.
it was very, very much so, and then it was also part of the Chapter House universe. For
Okay.
those not familiar with Chapter House, it was the big Canadian umbrella of all the Canadian superheroes, like Captain Canuck and
Yeah.
Northgard and Agents of Pact, um, and like Pitiful Human Lizard was the Spider-Man in that universe. What was That was our own version of Spidey. um and yeah, like it was fun when we got to do some um you know fun collaborations and team ups with like a historic character like Captain Canuck and the human lizard. And but unfortunately, like, yeah, like the company kind of fell apart and did lots of wrong to a lot of Canadian talent, especially myself, and it left me in a very bad place at the very end. Um, so yeah, so that was pretty much why I wanted to stop making comics, because I worked on the series for 5 years,
Yeah.
22 issues. I thought I told all like everything I wanted to with this character, and with what I wanted to see in a superhero story. Um, so I thought it was done, but yeah, no, Chip kind of revived my passion in comics.
And I mean, and a decade later, I mean, a rewarding turn of events
Yeah.
has become a very rewarding, a career that continues to move forward. So,
Vampires and werewolves. That's
yeah,
what that's and a
can't
lizard.
go wrong. You
And
cannot
a
go
lizard there.
wrong.
Jason, I'm wondering, when you're at conventions and stuff, do you have people who come up to you and say, "Can I show you my work?" Or what kind of advice do you give to people who are looking to get into the industry as either a writer, artist, or in your case, both?
Yeah, like a majority of the people that come to show me their work, um, most of the work that they show me are they're pinups of characters that are in heroic poses. And like if you want to get in, if you want to get a job in comics, like you want to be able to show that you can tell a story. So I always advise them, like, if you want to work in comics, just show me samples of actual storytelling. One of the most challenging feats is taking two characters having a mundane conversation and making that look interesting. That's a great challenge. Trying to show that you can show emotion, show like just award like Oscar worthy acting in a page. That's what I try to encourage new talent.
That's
That's
good.
great
Yeah.
advice. Yeah.
And I mean, your story alone is fantastic to be able to, be able to tell them, look, this is where this is what I've been at, and this is where I'm at right now. I'm just curious because we like to when we talk to our comic artists and ask them, is there a bucket list of anybody out there that you'd love to just, if you ever given the chance, you'd want to work on as a writer, artist, or both?
Um, it's funny because like when I started out with Marvel, or even before Marvel, I always saw myself like already being satisfied getting to work on my favorite C and D list characters. And these are like also my all-time favorite characters, like Multiple Man and Strong Guy and Dazzler, who I'm living that dream right now with
Yeah.
the Dazzler series. So when stuff like that kind of like comes into fruition, I that's when I kind of like bump up my benchmark, bump up like
Right.
the next goal, and it would be nice, like maybe in 5-10 years, I get to work on Amazing Spider-Man, and hopefully by then I will be free of social media.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Like
Imagine.
just be satisfied like that. I don't need to connect with anyone on social media. It's like no, I'll just connect with my peers, my friends. Uh, yeah, and I'll like the only communications with fans I'll have is at conventions, and hopefully they will be positive. Fingers crossed.
Are there any characters as an artist, I guess, that you would find daunting to have thrown at you, like either from a design perspective? Like I know when we were talking to Adam Gorham actually last year at ECCE when he was doing Darth Vader, talking about the
Yeah.
mask and just kind
Oh
of
yeah.
the getting that right. In Spider-Man, I mean, depending on with webbed armpits or how you get that applied, there's certainly some technical finessing that you'd have to kind of stress over. Is there anything that you'd find particularly difficult if you were
Well,
thrown at you?
those are definitely up there. I mean, the thing is, with anything with Star Wars, like when you're drawing the vehicles, like the TIE fighters or X-wings, you have to nail it accurately. You have to
Yeah.
be on point with it. There's not much creative freedom with that.
Right.
Yeah, Lucasfilm can be very strict with that. So that's a very daunting task, I would say. Um, but something that is challenging, but can kind of be fun without that that I guess editorial review process. Like drawing Spider-Man, it is challenging, but you can have lots of fun with it
Mhm.
because you like there are so many different takes on
Yeah.
Spider-Man out there. Iron Man suits, depending on which ones, that's
True. Yeah.
also like like all the getting the angles right. Like it's
Mhm.
that's very challenging as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that one I find too. He can come across as kind of boxy,
Yeah.
depending on how
Depending
you
on
draw him and
the
what
suit. Yeah.
iteration you have him in, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I was just curious as well. You mentioned earlier when we were chatting with you, the Incredible Hulk is going to be appearing in Werewolf by Night.
Yes,
Are we getting the current version of the Hulk that we have in the right now, the current comics?
yes. I had to read like all of Philip K. Johnson's issues to make sure it falls in line with his run. Um, yeah, no, you're going to get Bruce Banner, who's just a man on the road, just on the run, doing his own traveling by foot. That's the one that you're gonna find in Werewolf by Night issue number 5.
I'm looking forward to this.
Cool.
I'm
Yeah.
very excited about this. Wow, that's awesome. Where, if people are looking for you after they hear this, where can they find you? Because we're going to have this on the bottom of our ticker here, and if people have want to know more or find more about you.
Yeah, you can only find me in two sites. Instagram, Jason Low makes comics, and Blue Sky, jasonlow.bluesky.com. Yeah. I think I was the first Jason Lowe in Blue Sky.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. It's always nice, when some of these bigger ones fail, like when Twitter did a service to some folks that were looking to get those choice names.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to get in there at the very beginning. What anything else you got coming out? You got Werewolf by Night number 5 coming out in December, volume 3 all-nighter coming out in January. Anything else we should keep our eyes out for in the next 6 months to a year?
We got Dazzler issue number 3 coming out later this month in November, where she teams up with Lila Chinney. And issue number 4, the final issue of Dazzler, and it's a crossover with the NYX crew, and that comes out in December.
Oh,
Cool.
wow.
Right on.
So just in time for Christmas then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty
Stocking
cool.
stuffers.
Yes, there you go. Hey, there you go.
Right on. Well, look, Jason, this has been a really fun conversation. I really appreciate you making the time for us this evening. And after rescheduling a couple of times, we've been handsomely rewarded.
Yes, this has
with
been
your presence, so
an enjoyable chat here.
very much
just
enjoyed the time.
to see your road to get to where you are now.
Oh, that's great to hear, guys. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be on your show.
Awesome. Well, we will we'll hopefully be in touch again. I know you're not going to have a very busy con schedule, so
Don't be a stranger, though. The East
yeah.
Coast has got plenty of them coming up.
Just
Yeah.
invite me.
Fair enough.
Done.
Excellent. All right. Consider it. We'll see what we can do to get you out to the East Coast again, and maybe we can have a face-to-face chat, the one that we missed in Moncton.
I'll look forward to it.
Right
Awesome,
on.
man.
Thanks again, Jason. Have a great rest of the evening, and all the best to you.
Thanks a lot,
You
man.
too. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good
All
night.
right.
Good night.